Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to English 1301 Freshman Composition 1, a virtual class, which means that we will have a online face-to-face synchronous component, and we will also provide asynchronous lessons. Now, what I intend to do with the asynchronous part is put together some presentations that we will talk about in class to help you master the material that we will cover in this course. Our primary goal in this course will be learning to write a paper, specifically a research paper. But we're going to start with learning to write, and I'm going to carry you through some material today that will not make much sense yet, but it will as we proceed through the course and we develop the pieces one frame at a time. Let's talk about the difference between an art and a science. Science works with immutable laws, and it has one way of doing things. The law of gravity is an example. You throw something up, then it falls down. But an art has many ways of achieving success. You can have classical art, you can have ancient art, you can have modern art, you can have abstract art. Writing is an art form. Writing is not a science, it is an art form. There are many ways of writing and writing effectively, and I will hopefully be able to allow you to learn some format to develop a paper, but within that paper you will be able to use your own style and your own specific literary grace. Writing is a learned skill. Just as a painter learns to create a masterpiece through practice, hard work, mastering the art of writing, takes work as well. Now, we're going to develop this 5-step plan for writing a good paper. And step 1, pre-write your paper. That means you do the research, the brainstorming, all sorts of cool things. Step 2, you create an initial draft of the paper. Some people think that when you write a paper, you sit down with your computer, you start typing, and you start at a point and you finish at a point and your paper's done. Nothing is further from the truth. You develop an initial draft of the paper. You will then, in step 3, revise the paper, proofread the paper, and then you'll develop the final draft. This should show you that writing is indeed hard work. Under step 1, I wanted to give you a little bit of time to think about or to introduce you to the steps that we're going to use because they're fairly complex. Step 1 is the time to think. You choose your topic, you decide on your purpose, you identify your audience, you brainstorm your topic. This one's going to be fun, and then you map the paper's flow. What are you going to write about? What are you trying to accomplish with the paper? Is this a cause and effect paper, or are you trying to do a persuasive paper, or are you just writing for fun? Who's going to read your work? And you need to know something about your audience. The fun part is brainstorming the topic. What information can you gather? And I'm going to teach you some techniques to brainstorm how to write a paragraph, how to develop a paper. Those things are very interesting. And mapping the paper's flow. I wanted to give you a guideline. Here's one way of mapping and just laying the basic framework. Each of these parts has parts that need to be with it, but you have an opening, you have paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and then a conclusion. In an opening paragraph, you have the opening sentence of the paper. You have some ideas and some concepts that you want to present to make your case and to draw interest to it. Then you want a conclusion to your opening paragraph, which leads into your next paragraphs. So, it's a little bit more complex than just 5 pieces, but if you can learn to do these 5 pieces, then you can learn to write a paper. In step 2, we're going to create an initial draft of your paper. You're going to put the ideas you brainstormed into proper words. Now, I say proper words because you don't need to be using contractions and like you're sending a text message where you just put pieces of words and all that. You're going to need to write with proper English. You're going to have forms that you use, and I'm going to help you with that. You write sentences and paragraphs, even if they're not perfect, in your initial draft. You're trying to get your ideas down. You can refine this later. You read what you've written, you judge what it means, and you revise your plan if it's not working. Don't use slang or abbreviations. Don't worry about grammar and perfection at the first part. That's what sometimes stops people in being able to write. They want to write it perfectly to begin with. Very few people can write perfectly from the very start. What you do is you write, you put your ideas down, and then you go back and correct them. Ask yourself the question, are you getting your point across? Is your paper clear? You can always go back and rework your initial plans, but you've got to get something on paper for you to work with. Then you have time to make it better. You revise your paper. Read what you've written again. Sometimes you read it aloud. Probably do that down in later steps, but read it again. Read it again. Look at it. See what it says. You can rearrange words and sentences. You can take out or add parts as needed. You can replace dead words or unclear words. Sometimes we put words we don't need. I notice a lot of times people will put "we have had" or something like that. We have a dead word there. You either say "we have" or "we had." You don't need both of those together. That's just an example. Read your writing aloud finally to make sure it flows smoothly, and that helps. Sometimes converting your paper into words that you can hear draws on other senses that will help you, but specifically, we're going to read it aloud in later steps. You may have your friend read it aloud to see if it makes sense. Yes, you actually have to reread your writing. Writing is a learned skill. You have to write, you have to refine, you have to check it, you have to refine. You may be refining it all the way to almost finality, but that's the way that it goes. Ask yourself, are you using the same sentences over and over? Do you repeat words over and over using the same word? Do the parts of the paper support your purpose? Are you using the same word again and again and again and again? If so, you have redundancy, and we want to replace some of the words with new words. Does your writing sound right? So you have so far 3 steps. A 4th step is proofreading your paper. After you have written a draft, after you have modified the draft, then you're beginning to come to the point where you can proofread your paper to make it correct. You ensure that all the sentences are properly structured, that you have correct spelling, capitalization, punctuation, and you change words that are not used correctly. Some of the things, do you have a variety of sentence structures? Have you followed the rules of grammar? I remember when I was in English class one time, the teacher told a guy, said, "Get out your pencil." And he said, "I ain't got none." Well, he needed a lesson in grammar, and she proceeded to give him that. Have you properly used capitalization and punctuation? Are your sentences properly worded? You watch out for homophones, some of the common mistakes, there, and there. There, T-H-E-R-E, means is a preposition, points to a place. There is possession. And there, T-H-E-Y'-R-E, means they are. It's a contraction. Your and your. Your is possession. This is yours. You are is abbreviated Y-O-U'-R-E. The way you get around some of this is you just don't use contractions in formal writing. Now, we're going to then develop the final draft. Have someone check your work and work with your friends. This is real friendship, being able to listen to you read your paper, to read your paper aloud. Recopy it correctly and neatly. I strongly suggest that you type work. It makes it just so much easier and makes it look good. And after that, well, relax, you've done. Working with others makes a better product, and helping each other is the key. A typed paper makes the paper presentable, and then you're ready to move on to your next assignment. Now, I don't want you to panic. I've covered these things. This is a global map, but I want you to have a sense of the forest. In writing a paper, you're going to do 5 steps. I'm going to help you learn to develop those 5 steps so that they make sense to you. And when you employ those 5 steps, the goal is that you come out with a better paper and a paper that is acceptably written. Now, yes, it sounds like work. Yes, it's going to be work. Writing is hard work, but it is rewarding work. And the more you develop this skill, then the more you will be able to employ it. Remember that writing is an art form. When you write a paper, it's like painting a beautiful picture, and I want you to be able to write something that you're proud of. Now, bear with me. We will have more videos, and we will share them, and then I may ask you to watch some other pre-developed videos by other sources. But our goal is to help you learn to write and to write well. Good luck.